Or is that an old man? I don't know. I think thought it was an old lady.
What's the difference?
I think it's an old man, isn't it?
Is it an old
No.
man?
After a certain age, everyone starts looking the same.
They start off looking the same and they end up looking the same.
Exactly. It's the circularity. Hello, Drunk Duckers, QUACKCAST listeners. This is the Drunk Duck QUACKCAST. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Tance. Hi, Tance.
Hello.
And Baines. Hi, Baines.
Hello.
We are here today to talk to you about characters that die and why they should all die. Because we're psychopaths and we just want to kill them. No, we're talking about creating an environment where any character can die. What's the purpose of that, Tance? To create an environment where any character can die.
As we said in our video for our patrons, but we said it in more detail, the idea is for certain categories of stories where you expect to have body count and you expect to have stakes that have to do with death and dying, then in order to make it seem realistic, in order to make it seem real and not an embellished version of the truth or even something that is completely fantastical, it is a good idea to give the impression to the audience that any character of your cast has equal chances of getting killed, of actually dying permanently.
Permanent death, yes.
Yes.
Ultra death. Well, that's what we'll get into, but first I will introduce the featured comic. QUACKCAST has given us a feature this week, and it was called The Shootin'. So, take it away, Quai, and watch The Shootin'.
Hello, this is QUACKCAST, and the feature I've selected for this week is The Shootin' by Arborsides, and it is rated E for everyone. Prospector and babysitter Isaac Alden knows all about the great tragedy that happened in Grand Lake, Colorado on July 4th, 1883. On that day, Bob Plummer was shot to death by Wilson Waldron, who was also a county commissioner. This shooting shows the lack of impulse control of some of the folks who moved to Grand Lakes from other towns. Grand Lakes has its own share of troublemakers, such as John G. Mills, one of the town's elected officials, who rose to prominence after moving from Wyoming. Now, the town is about to learn the truth about Mills' tumultuous past. The comic uses a full-page colored format. Characters are stylistically drawn, and the writing makes great use of regional English accents. Take a digital trip to the past in Grand Lakes, Colorado, and read The Shootin' by Arborsides, rated E.
And that was our featured comic, The Shootin'. Thanks for that, Quai. Okay, next up we have the featured music. Gummalus has given me a great track to review and then play for all you beautiful people. The comic he has chosen to make the music for is called Xyth Era. Xyth Era. It's spelled Xythera. Oh, Xyth Era 1, really. So, this music I would describe it as desperation, time ticking, panoramic speed and flow. This is blue and green plasma, time illustrated with light and sound as we race towards an uncertain future. So, take it away, Gumbalus, with Xyth Era. So that was the featured music, Zyth Era. Gumwallis had given us the theme to that comic. It's by Null and it's rated E, so perhaps you should check it out. That would be cool. Okay, on with the QUACKCAST. Anyone can die. I think one of the key points of the anyone can die thing is the fact that if you have a situation where a lot of characters are dying, but you haven't fooled or convinced the audience enough to conceal the fact that your main character isn't going to die, then they're looking at their character and thinking, well, I don't really care about these other characters dying because I know my chosen character is going to get through. So, yeah, kill them off. It doesn't really matter so much because my guy's going to win. So that's what you got to prevent, isn't it? You got to prevent that.
Yeah. Or there is also, you also have a lower engagement in the things and the trials that your main character goes through, because they walk into fire, brimstone, and it's this super high stakes. Everyone that has walked in there is gonna, has never walked out kind of situation. And they are not impressed because they're saying, yeah, I know they are going to make it. So
yeah, to the main character, they're going to do it.
So. If they don't, though, they are engaged in the fact that they are trying to see the elements that the character might use in order to survive, how the character has prepared for this or not prepared for this. They are more engaged with the story content, not just the character.
Good point. Because you can get to a point where it doesn't matter what the character is going to do, they're going to survive anyway, which is not interesting after a while. Then you think, okay, I don't care.
Yeah. And the whole thing is that usually together with that comes the unbreakability of the character as well, like the bounce of hard surfaces, like they are flubber or something like that, and they have zero damage. They get propelled forward by an explosion, and they just pick up themselves and straighten their jacket and their bow tie, and they just walk away.
Oh, that's what I like about the movie. I think it's called The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and some other guy.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, so The Other Guys is done sort of to what you're talking about in that, well, we start off with what look like sort of main protagonist kind of guys. I think Samuel L. Jackson's in it. And a whole bunch of like typical actors who are always protagonists and tough guys, and they're so tough, and they do something that's absolutely crazy. There's some kind of explosion going to happen on the top of a building, and they go, "Oh my god, how are we going to get out of this?" And there's nowhere to go, and they like join hands and jump off the building.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. And you think, well, always in tough guys in these movies, they would jump off a building, they'd hit the ground, they'd roll, and they'd be fine, even though it's improbable. But they fall down and they just splat on the pavement and they're dead. And then so our protagonists move on to be the losers, which is Will Ferrell and Matt Damon or some other guy. And in one of the scenes, there's a massive explosion by these two, like happening behind these two while they're walking, and immediately they both fall to the ground, and they're sort of screaming at each other and go, "Oh my god, I heard all over. I'm like, what did you say? What did you say?" And they can't hear each other because their eardrums are affected. And that's exactly what happens during an explosion. I love that. They upended that whole sort of thing. But anyway, sorry. That's
exactly. And generally, the whole anyone can die as a trope, I think, goes beyond the whole who gets the axe and who doesn't. Yeah. It's more an adherence to the rules that you create. It doesn't have to be only in realistic settings. it could be a fantasy, or it could be science fiction, or I don't know, whatever. And if you create certain rules, for example, taking from the books that I have written, high fantasy, there is a rule where if you expend, you can cast, assuming that you are, an expert wizard, you can cast the biggest, most bombastic spells. However, there is a cost for that, for your energy. And if you deplete this energy, you have two options. Either you deplete everything you have to live on and you die, or the spell falls apart because you don't have what it takes to fuel it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. So if I had the characters, and I don't, if I had the characters just because they are the main characters and do these huge spells that I have established are huge spells that take enormous, staggering amounts of energy, and usually require something like 5 or 10 wizards to do it together so that they can handle the load and everything. And I have now the prodigy, because there is a prodigy in the story. I have the prodigy just do it on her own because she's that amazing. Some people are going to buy it. It's going to become cheaper.
Yes. You think,
Right.
well, what was the whole point of setting that up if this character's just going to wander through?
Exactly.
Yeah, that cheapens her power as well. So
Yeah,
when that
make
happens,
the stakes lower in general. We're not even talking about death per se. It's just that you have such a superpowered character, then the antagonist has no chance.
Yeah.
There are no stakes. There is no way to fail. There is no way for this to go wrong.
Yeah.
And if the character doesn't do well, then they are incompetent.
Yeah.
Being overpowered.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a domino effect, really, if you don't do that. If you don't follow your own rules, if you don't follow the rules of the setting you have chosen.
Yeah, of course. I mean, one of the things I don't like about certain sorts of anime is that there's the trope of this small character, for whatever reason, usually some 13-year-old girl who's sucking on a lollipop and beats these enormous, muscle guys and all this kind of stuff. And you think, well, size is one of the indicators of a character's strength. And also looking rough and stuff like that. Well, all that is meaningless now because, these kind of like cutesy kawaii characters can just waltz through them. So you're you're sort of washing out all meaning and stakes from your setting by doing this. And, well, anyway, that's a tangent.
It's not a tangent because it's really the same thing. That small... lollipop sucking character is not gonna die.
Yeah, exactly.
They are not gonna die. You could drop a nuclear bomb on them and they would just, maybe the lollipop will melt a little bit. That's the only thing that will happen.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this particular, to have a small girl beat a big, muscly guy, you could set that up plausibly, but they cannot compete on the same level when it comes to brawn, when it comes to muscle power, unless they are some kind of alien and you have established that they are a specific race, they look very small and everything, but they have, I don't know, super strength or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you use the muscle guy to show the extent of this super strength that they have. If that is not the case, you could have the 13-year-old beat him because she's faster and smarter. So she employs a different strategy to beat him.
Weapons,
rather than
pressure
actually,
points.
go head on.
Yeah. Pressure
Yeah.
points, using the character's momentum against them, all that kind of stuff that is famous in
Yeah, exactly.
jiu-jitsu, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Judo.
Yeah,
yes. Rather than competing strength to strength.
Exactly. Or they could even seem that they're running away from the character, but in reality what they are doing is they are pulling something huge on them, for example. Or like using their environment to enhance their own
abilities,
strength, and so on and so forth. You could set it up. It's not that you cannot do it. You could set it up, and you also commit to the fact that if this muscly guy has to grab the girl with the lollipop, then it's game over. She cannot be grabbed by this muscly guy.
Yeah.
As an author, you should know that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, very much so.
Going back to the whole, and actually, the stakes could be that at some point, some muscly guy that you have paid up to be an actual important adversary could manage to grab her and do some real damage to her before rescued by someone, maybe another muscly guy. Come to rescue her. And you don't have to kill her because she survived as a gunner. She didn't come out of it until.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just.
So she can, if the muscly guy catches her, as I said, he will inflict damage.
Yeah.
And she will not be able to do anything. And she will need to be rescued by someone else, perhaps another muscly guy. so yeah, someone that is in a position to overpower the adversary. And then you don't actually need to kill your character anymore because she has just survived near-death experience and she has come out wounded from this. She will have some kind of physical injury in this particular case. She will also have the shock and the trauma of losing the fight because she has lost and almost dying out of it. And that's enough. These are enough stakes. You see your character sort of, becoming slowly crumpled up. And then when she is rescued, she remains crumpled up. She doesn't bounce back.
Yeah.
Then you have enough injury to telegraph to the audience that if I had allowed this to go on a little longer, she would have.
Yes.
And that's enough.
Yeah. So you don't have to have this character beaten to within an inch of their life or anything like that. You can just have you can just indicate that vulnerability
especially
is possible.
if you have it, for example, choreographed this situation where others have been, smashed around even worse, and she comes to save the day, and she does a little bit at the beginning, and she gets caught, and then she gets across as being very brittle in his hands. Then you scare your audience enough to feel that, oh my God, oh no, okay. So now you have their engagement, you have their attention, and you don't actually need to kill the character.
Yeah.
Especially if afterward, you don't just, throw a little game and party and it's as if nothing happened. If everyone is shocked after this happened, then you again have an impact in her circle of friends and in her circle of significant others, where the whole thing is shock enough to indicate that this was not just another thing.
Yeah.
Happened.
Yeah, it's a significant event. So
Mm-hmm.
that reminds me, one of my favorite books is Magician by Raymond D. Feist. One of my favorites years ago when I was younger. And in that, there's there's two characters. One's Pug and one's Thomas. They grow up together and they become very kind of overpowered, superpowered kind of characters. Thomas through finding this ancient armor and sort of gathering some of the powers of the god who used to wear it. And he just gets overpowered, superpowered, and goes off to fight these dreadlord demon sort of characters. And so he's fighting them, and initially you think, well, he's like got the powers of a god. What are they going to do against him? He's obviously going to wipe the floor with them. So he's fighting this dreadlord, who is like a massively powerful character, and his arm gets chopped off. And as a reader, you think, oh my lord, he's been built up to be so powerful and godlike and had these powers, and then his arm just gets chopped off in this first encounter with this demon character. Demon almost does nothing. He just slices his arm off, and you think,
wow,
your
that's
stomach
awesome.
drops out. And I read that, the first time when I was really young, and that affected me deeply. I thought, whoa, you just did that to your character. And, it gets resolved, quite sneakily or quite well in the story. But years later, I read that as an adult, and it still had the same effect. I completely had forgot about, the whole resolution to it. It just had exactly the same effect. I read through it and I thought, your stomach drops out. How could you do that to my character? How could you do that? That is my character. Why did you do that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, that's awesome. When this happens, and you have the effect, the anyone can die effect. There you go. You have it. And there is another trick that you can do. Won't even need your character to get smashed up. If I remember it right, I think it's from that. So Naoki Urasawa's Monster. When I read it, I was blown away. So you have this serial killer who is amazingly efficient. If he wants to kill someone, he will. He's like a force of nature. He's like the angel of death.
Yeah.
That's how efficient he is and played up to be this efficient. So his adversary, his antagonist, is the main character, who is the doctor that saved him when he was a kid. And they have this situation where the doctor feels culpable that because he saved his life when he was a kid, he is responsible for all the deaths that the serial killer is committing, is making. He is chasing after him, trying to stop him. And, he actually is never, okay, let's not spoil anything, but for 99%, let's say, of the whole series, he is never hurt. A particular main character, the doctor. But that's only because, first of all, the serial killer explicitly has said that I don't want to kill you.
Right.
Because I owe you. And secondly, he also has said that I am going to protect you because I owe you.
Oh.
So you have this serial killer who is the antagonist, who is the villain, also protecting the main character from getting hurt.
Wow.
And so the main character has the quote-unquote plot armor because it's the whole motivation and part of the complex makeup and profile of the serial killer that the villain.
Right.
The story.
Right. It's a very clever twist on the whole thing. Very, very clever. That's interesting. A twist in the other direction is the the old animation shorts for Aeon Flux. You guys have seen that, have you? So,
No.
well, these shorts only lasted like 5 minutes, and every single time what would happen was, Aeon, this typical protagonist character, super sexy, barely dressed or whatever, all the key things that indicate main character, always succeeding no matter what. So she's involved in some devilish, like, sabotaging plot, or she has to assassinate someone like that, and she has these elaborate plans she has to do, get past the security camera, scale this wall, and sneak through the duct or whatever, and then kill this character. And yeah, all the typical setup for that kind of thing. But what always happened in these shorts was she'd go through, she'd sneak past the thing, she'd get up, and then at the last second she'd slip on a bullet casing, fall off the side of the building, and then end up impaled on a spike. Or so there'd be some kind of ridiculous incidents that would happen to kill her off. So in those kind of things, literally any character would die. It was set up that way, but the point of it was that it didn't matter. She was the main character, and that was her purpose. So that made it interesting, and that made it compelling, and you watched it to see how she would die, how she is going to fail, how she's going to mess this one up. But yeah, in that kind of situation, you knew that she was going to die.
Yeah.
Because that was what happened in these shorts.
It's awesome, actually.
Yeah, definitely try and find them. Aeon Flux.
I will now.
The short
I remember
versions.
playing, what was it called? That video game that Don Bluth animated. With Dirk the Knight, that...
Oh, I know what you mean. Dragon's Lair.
Dragon Slayer?
Yes, thank you. That's the one. That was a super hard game where your main character would die all the time. Okay, this is now a tangent, but I have to say the ways that the character Dirk, I think, died were hilarious.
Yeah.
You were pissed that you lost the particular phase or the room where you were in, but the death was so hilarious that you were angry and you were laughing at the same time.
Yeah.
That is something that I appreciate. But it's not the anyone can die scenario. It's the Crash Bandicoot scenario of comedic death. That's a different thing.
Yeah. But any situation can lead to death, which is interesting.
Yes.
In that game.
Yes.
Any situation, like you go into a room and there's a lady with a rolling pin charging at you.
Oh,
and
yes.
she kills you. What the hell? Any situation can lead to death. So
yeah, or there is this trap door with a rope, and you grab the rope, and the rope is a snake, and it kills you.
yes.
Oh, it was a good game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That was
but
great.
yeah,
So great visually. It was that great animator, Don Bluth. Yeah,
yes.
so good. Yeah, really funny.
Yeah, very clever and very maddening. Incredibly hard to play.
Oh yeah.
The thing, going back to the whole anyone can die scenario, is basically we make it realized a little bit in the anyone can be on the wrong end of the stake.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily
right.
death.
Yes. Anyone can be, yeah. So, yeah, anyone can lose their house, so to speak, or...
Yes.
Lose it cards. That can be a thing. You know, if your game is about high stakes poker or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Often that's a thing in like sports stories. You follow a team or you follow a character who is, sports champion or whatever. Or maybe, you follow this team of like plucky underdogs. And what do you know? They're beating everyone. And you can always have that problem in those kind of stories of, it's unexpected that they beat these guys who are really good, but then they beat this other team and this other team, so they're going to win in the end. And that's going to be the story.
Yeah.
So that's a really hard story to do, and people will shake that up by having them do really, really well, but losing at the last moment.
Yes.
And they still won because they got in the championship, but they lost, or then you could have a thing. So they lost, but it's because the other team cheated, or they lost, but there's a do-over because of some little thing, and then so you could
or if you have the guts, let's say they lost because the other team was better, but they have gained the prestige now. They're not anymore the ones that are scorned, or fingers are not being pointed at them anymore. They are now actual respected adversaries in the game, which is I think it was in Cool Runnings. That was the way.
Right.
Oh, really? Okay, I hadn't seen that.
It's fun. It's not real. It's not historically faithful, but it's fun.
Yeah, I get it, that part, because Cool Runnings. It's about the Jamaican bobsled team, and they're sort of portrayed as being, man, we're the Jamaican bobsled team, but in reality they were very stuck up professional, I think members of the Air Force or something like that. So they're like,
I'm not really sure. I do know that
they're army guys, military soldiers or whatever.
So anyway, but the story as a story, it's really nice. They have nice character arcs for every character, and they have nice scenes. And they keep it realistic in the sense that they don't say that they couldn't have won. They could have, but their equipment wasn't good enough.
Oh,
and it failed them.
Oh, spoilers, Tance! Oh my god! I'm joking. I'm joking. Go on.
What did you say? I didn't catch it.
I was joking about spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry. They failed in the end, guys. That's why I'm using it as an example.
Well played.
But yeah, that's or you could have them like win in the regional games, and then when they go play the big boys, quote unquote, they start losing. They lose one, they lose the second, they lose the third, and whatever, how many games they have available to lose.
Yeah.
And then they have to double down and work more, and change their tactics and do certain things in order to have a chance to stay in the game. And that's how the story progresses.
Yeah.
Which is a plausible thing, because it's different when you go play internationally. Yeah. Whereas when you are, or even nationally, if you are,
the game gets harder. Or we can invoke the drinking challenge for this particular QUACKCAST, which is Star Wars, and Empire Strikes Back is where that happens.
Yes.
Yeah, Luke has his big success with the Death Star, and in the second film, not only does he lose the sword fight against Darth Vader, he gets his hand cut off, and Han gets trapped in carbonite, and
and the resistance basically is routed in the second movie.
Yeah, Yep.
Which would be how it would go, because if you got the attention of an empire, okay, these guys are not rough anymore, and we need to double down. I would expect that they would double down rather than play.
Yeah.
So that's normal, quote unquote.
Buffoonishly keep on falling over themselves and missing and all that kind of stuff. No, they're going to actually develop countermeasures and plans and plots. Yeah. So that's why everybody loves that film so much, and it's so respected, because it did that, and it gave the story stakes, and the characters weren't superpowered and fantastic.
And Luke didn't die, but he came very close to it. So did Han. Han basically died, quote unquote, because he basically was in suspended animation, and if he wasn't rescued, he would remain there forever. He would be a wall ornament forever. So
it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking, because he was our typical 1930s swashbuckling hero.
Yes.
Coming in and saving the day for everybody, and now whoop, he was just betrayed and he's gone.
Exactly.
That's him ended.
Exactly. And basically that's the idea. The idea is, don't be afraid to roll your main characters, or the ones that will not die. Don't be afraid to roll them in the mud. And the other thing that I said in the article, and I still stand by it, is that when you do have body count, and it's not other kinds of stakes, even the character that will not die might still have like a small, very small, very present chance of actually dying. And you should prepare yourself for this unlikely occurrence, as you write, by preparing secondary support characters that can be main characters.
Yeah.
They can step up to fill the void in their own way, not as the other character would.
Yeah. Not a direct replacement, because that's weak.
Yes.
One of the tricks I have seen...
It was a movie, I'll just interject quickly. Was it...
Definitely.
Beer League or something like that? What was it called? It was like a comedy sports movie. And at one point, one of the characters died. And that was the kind of all is lost moment for the team. Like, they lost this guy, and like they were losing, and I think it was Beer League or something like that. But anyway, like, what gave them a lift was like suddenly this other character shows up, and it's played by the exact same actor as the guy who died, and he's like the same guy kind of, but he's wearing a cowboy hat, and he's like the twin, the twin cousin of Joe. It's like, I'm Chuck, I'm the twin cousin of Joe. And I heard everything that was going on here, and I'm real sorry to hear about Joe. I'd like to join your team. And I'd like you to call me Joe.
Oh, well, there you are. That is subverting that. And, yeah, that's a really...
That fits a comedy, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beer League, you say?
Not a good movie, really, but that part was... I saw it years ago, and it stuck out to me. It was so funny. Okay. So meta.
Very clever, yeah, because having a character replace another character who is the same properties and the same kind of, they fit the same role and everything like that. That's cheap and shit. But actually acknowledging it like that is,
yeah.
Oh no, that's awesome. That's comedy fodder right there. If you do it straight up, though, then you're gonna piss your audience off, because the people that like the character that died, they are going to hate the replacement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter if they are... Yeah, they are going to hate the replacement with a vengeance.
The stepmother.
It's going to be the Stepford character. It's going to be the one that is the replacement of my favorite character for whom I'm grieving, and And it doesn't have another thing. It's like it cancels the existence of the previous character. You have this new character that perfectly fits the whole that the previous character left. So there is no need to remember him or her.
Yes.
There is no need to commemorate their existence or diminish about them or show grief. There's none of that. Because you have the exact replacement.
Yep. So it is a good idea to switch it up with a different character, with a different type of character.
And they also don't need to do any growing.
Yeah, because the
when
other
you
character
need
did
to,
that for them. Yeah.
Exactly. When you need to step up and fill void that you didn't need to fill before, you have to grow. There is growth that has to happen for the character in order to be able to shoulder part of what the character was shouldering. So you force them to create new relationships with each other. You force them to change, which is, of course, it makes for a good story when you do that.
Yeah, you have progression. It's TV shows often have to deal with this when they can't have the same actor continue to play the same role, so they have to leave. And the smarter ones will do that with acknowledging that it's a different person playing. You know, they're not going to just slot that person into the exact same role and say, no one knows, like the Darren in Bewitched is a new Darren. Well, no one knows. But I mean,
he was playing the same character though, obviously.
Yeah. You can do that.
Yeah.
But if you actually change the character a bit, then you acknowledge it, and you're like writing it into the story almost, and it has more reality to people. And as you say, you're not going to start hating that person for being everything the other character wasn't. Like one of my favorites is Lex. I love that series. So that started out with 4 TV movies, and had a particular character, Eva Huberman from Germany, playing Zev, which is this like a Marilyn Monroe looking bimbo kind of character who has superpowers. Anyway, so she was really cool. She was a really unusual kind of actor for the role. It was fun. Then the show went into a hiatus for a while where they tried to get funding to do some more series. In the meantime, she had to work, she had to live and eat and stuff like that and further her career, so she took other jobs and other commitments. And when the guys actually came around with the series, she couldn't really be part of it. She did 2 episodes where they could show a changeover to the new actor who would play her role, and that's all she could do. So then they had they replaced her with another actor, but instead of saying this is the exact same person, they said Zev actually got killed, and this revived version isn't quite the same. She's different. And in doing that, they didn't just say, she's different, and then, go on just giving her the exact same personality and the exact same, everything. They actually did some changes to the character so it was believable, and it was something the audience can come along with because, she's actually a different person. She's not just
very different looking, different personality, and like you said, the original actor sort of was available to do her last episodes and sort of help them with that transition, which really helped. And I like the new Zev better, the newer Zev better personally, so that helped too. Great.
Yeah.
And I think they called her Zev with an X.
Exactly. That made all still Zev, but X-Zev.
I know people are Walking Dead is kind of people are tuning out and stuff like that, but I thought it handled the main character leaving incredibly well, and managed, even though he left early in the season, they managed to do one of their best seasons with other characters stepping up Mainly, Michonne was already there, but then Daryl, this kind of side character, but one of the most popular characters, kind of steps into Rick's role a little bit, but he does it very much as Daryl. He's not being Rick. He's still got his own personality and his own way of doing things.
Oh,
and
right.
I mean, spoiler alert, it helps that Rick is, unbeknownst to the characters, he's still alive. So that helps too.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was an amazing season. I mean, we'll see what happens going forward, but they had these amazing new villains and everything. So it was all, I mean, the show around him was done well, but his absence, the promise eventually that we'll see him again, although, you know, who knows how that they can deliver on that, it's hard to say. But that they had these other great characters there too who could step up. Really amazing that it seems to have worked, you know. Wouldn't have expected that. Most shows die pretty quickly.
Yes.
Whatever. After the main person leaves, that's pretty hard.
Oh, definitely. One other thing I was going to bring up is the idea of, I mean, you guys are talking about the idea of having characters that can step up in the meantime or look like they can replace it. So that means the our main character might not be the main character towards the end, so you have that sleight of hand. One tricky thing is to start a story off in like the first, I don't know, maybe quarter with a certain bunch of characters and a main character amongst them, and they look like a main character, but that main character dies off and is replaced by one of the seeming like minor characters who gets introduced like in the first quarter, and that goes on to become the main character.
You could say that Game of Thrones, while it was good, did that with killing off Ned Stark in the first season. It was like, okay, they sort of telegraphed it with the character being played by Sean Bean. Like, okay, he is going to die with arrows or with some kind of... It's in his contract, die every single time he's on screen. But narratively speaking, you could say that all the other events around the Stark family characters, at least, are triggered by this death. They all rush to step up, whether they realize it or not, to fill his void, to rent their house, to do certain things. When spoilers for the first season of Game of Thrones, I guess. So that was very well. Another similar pattern that they did was the origins of Daenerys. She becomes a power couple with Khal Drogo. They hit it off. Although they have this rocky start of perhaps rape situation. After that, when she works to become a power couple with him, and she works to become an equal to him and be recognized as a personality, which is something that is very gratifying to watch. And you expect that you will see this amazing couple, husband and wife, sweeping Westeros all the way to the Red Keep, the capital, where the Lannisters are. So he dies from a silly thing as well, an small infected wound. She has to become both a Khal and a Khaleesi. So she has to have both roles. And that is, she has to grow in order to be able to fill both pairs of shoes. And you watch her grow through and struggle, because it's not like, oh, okay, so I guess I'll be both now. She suddenly is. she goes through I don't know 1 or 2 seasons worth of story arc in order to come into her own and to become the dragon, because she basically is the dragon.
Right.
She doesn't have dragons. She is the dragon. My so yeah, I mean, when you have and you perpetuate the sensation that anyone can die, and anyone can die in the first 5-6 seasons, and everyone is very engaged. Everyone is very engaged, even if they lose characters that are beloved to them.
Yeah, it works. I'm thinking of, ironically, you brought up the Sean Bean, and I was thinking of the famous movie where he doesn't die, which is spoilers, Ronin, which is one of my favorite films. So this is a good one. Well, it's a really, really good action film. We start off with a bunch of like dangerous men and women in a cafe or something like that, and there's an air of menace, and you have no idea who the main character is. There could be any of them. There's Robert De Niro in it, and you automatically might think he is, but he doesn't exude a main characterness in that part of the film. And it's only as the film goes on, where the main character emerges from these bunch of people. But in the meantime, anyone can die until that, which makes it a stronger film. In the like the 2/3 of it towards the end, it becomes more crystalline, and you see, this is the main character. This is how things go. But in the beginning of it, you do have that worry, and it increases your engagement with the film and the characters, and your worry for the characters. So it's effective. It really is effective. There's a sense of menace and all that kind of stuff, because consequences can happen.
Absolutely. Right. Especially if you have a story about war, if you have a story about assassins or mafiosos, or I don't know, I'm thinking about different webcomics right now. If you have a story that involves people shooting people one way or the other, then you should consider working into your story this general atmosphere that anyone might die, and you have the capacity to switch between characters and make them the main one if necessary.
Yes.
So that means that nobody is above the act. Everyone is below the act. Everyone.
Yeah. Even if as the writer that certain character or two might be bulletproof.
Yeah.
You don't have
now.
to.
For now.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of a story, if it has an actual ending, then all bets are.
For example, that's how I work with my characters. I have, for every character that I expect not to die, I have at least 2 others that can take his or her place, just in case.
In reserve.
Yeah. Just in case, because they might actually, I know the story will progress from point A to point B to point C and so on, but and I have in my mind, okay, so the character is going to be going from A to B to C in these manners, but he or she might do something stupid, and I cannot steer him or her away from doing that stupid thing. Or it might not necessarily be a stupid thing. It might be a circumstance that some other character that hadn't factored in now looks that it would be the only plausible or logical thing to do for this character, to put the situation on that other character in that way, and he cannot escape. She cannot escape from that. So if I want to be true to the whole atmosphere, I have to let them not escape. And I have to still continue the story, so I must have understudies for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of another story where it's done poorly, which is The Force Awakens, where Han Solo dies from being stabbed by Ben or whoever he's called.
Yeah.
That's weakly done. It was so weak because it's not.
And the thing is, I agree it was weakly done. And the thing is that as a premise, as a concept, it's not a weak concept. You have basically a patricide taking place.
Yeah.
It was just
So,
their version of it.
yeah. The thing, in my opinion, is that they didn't afford it the time to become really important, to really blow away everyone, and to really show the struggle that the son has, light side, dark side, blah, blah, blah. They did it too fast.
Yeah.
They did it too
cheaply.
Cheaply, yeah, in a sense, I would say.
Like, really, you should have done that towards the end of the film.
Exactly.
Really, really right at the end sort of thing. And that would have been, whoa, massively strong. Doing it right.
It would be like in Empire.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Luke loses his hand. Okay, so now in The Force Awakens, you think that Han will survive to the second film, which would be a logical thing to expect.
Yes.
Right.
And you might even think, oh, okay, the father is there, he's gunning for his son, he's trying to pull him back to the light side. And he's almost working.
Yeah.
And it is working, and he has come over a little bit, and he has done maybe certain things that are not as dark and not as douchey. And then suddenly the dark side doubles down, like Snoke, and then you would get Snoke being actually someone that is commands hate from the audience, or shows that he is important, and he forces him, quote unquote, like he pushes him to do the murder.
Yeah.
And credits. You live with that.
That would have been way stronger than the ending they did have, which was the stupid planet blowing up and getting sucked into itself, and
everyone being happy afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter that someone really big died.
Yeah.
It was a legend. Okay.
It just wasn't smartly done. They followed weirdly they followed the pattern of the first Star Wars film, just called Star Wars, and so Han was the Obi-Wan Kenobi stand-in. So which was pointless.
Yeah, like making kind of a
but
mentor.
Even that, the first. Yeah, sorry, please go on.
No, go ahead. I was done.
You didn't hear me.
In the first, in the original Star Wars, though, Obi-Wan died towards the end.
Yeah, but he was like a mentor character.
And he was a mentor.
Yeah, when he
wasn't
died,
the son killing the father.
Yeah, and when he died, he didn't die completely. He came back.
Yes.
In a way, yes. It was
and that's a nice segue, by the way, for our drinking game, because now I want to talk about bringing characters back from death.
Oh, we haven't got much time, so we'll have to...
Very quickly, if you're gonna do it, it has to be for a reason other than I miss the character and I want him back.
Oh.
The whole Jon Snow thing, Game of Thrones. Spoilers, I guess. He dies at the end of a season, and he is brought back in the first episode of the next season. And after that would be fine. But after that, as a character, he offers nothing to the story. He's
they kind of take away his arc, don't they? From what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
do that. If he came back and I could see him come back to fulfill the prophecy in a sense and become part of what defeats the Night King in a very significant manner. And basically, actually, what I expected would be that either he or Daenerys would have to kill each other to create this sword, this weapon that kills the Night King through this great sacrifice because they love each other and blah blah blah. And that's why he got brought back. Then I could expect some reasoning behind that, but nothing happened. Nothing to explain why the plot had to bend over backwards just for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes it a wasted opportunity. And that's a good reason why you shouldn't do that. Not because you miss them. You should have, always reasons for things. It makes it have more meaning.
The Matrix did it right. The first one.
Okay.
Neo died and he came back, but he came back as Neo. That's when he becomes Neo. Death is actually what transforms him to what he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't seen that in a while. I didn't really remember that. I think it was an allegory of Christ almost. He's sort of
yes, of course. That's why he comes back from the dead. But aside that, if you take it from strictly narrative point, up until the point that he dies, he isn't actually Neo yet.
Yeah,
he's not the one yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
I remember that. He
The whole point is for him to become the one. And in order to do that, he has to die, as a matter of fact.
Yes, and then realize, hang on, I'm not really dead because I wasn't really alive.
There is no spoon, there is no death. So there you have it. But that works. It works, and it doesn't feel like a cop-out.
He was only mostly dead.
Yes. Oh my God! Another very, very, very good film and a very good way of doing it. Yeah, because we set it up. The Dread Pirate Roberts is this undefeatable, fantastic swordsman, and he's cleverer than the cleverest guy in the world. He's stronger than the strongest man in the world. He is the best. And then he gets tortured to death, and it's like, what? And it literally, you have it like a meta thing where the little kid is being having the story read to him by his grandfather, and he's like, what? And then we switch to these secondary characters who we defeated, and they become main characters now,
right?
And they sort it out and fix everything, and they become absolutely the main characters as well.
And when they do bring back, spoilers, they bring back the Dread Pirate Roberts, but he is not as he was. He needs constant help. He needs, they need to keep up the ruse that he is still Dread Pirate Roberts.
Exactly, yeah. Very good example, Baines. Excellent. All right. Well, we better wrap it up there because we're getting over time.
Yes.
So, thank you, Tans, for this.
Yeah.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
We are all excellent. We are excellent to each other as well. Bye.
Excellent topic, and thank you, Baines, for being excellent as well. Whoa. Most excellent. It's our Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. All right.